city where like Dravidian culture has still existent in the most purest form. That's what I think. Because if you walk the city at night around 3 to 5 kilometers, you will at least find one place where ritualistic kola or nema will be happening, or a yakshagana will be happening. And if you come in Dasra, there is tiger dance. Every form of cultural beauty or dance form or ritual is present in this land. Other thing I love about this city is food. If you want to eat fish and other morning breakfast or delicacies, this is the best place. So Mangalore for me is love in that way.
You've had this space for a while, Raj. You've been sort of...
Yeah, Idapatti 8 varsha Dikshe. 8 varsha? 2.5 years.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember time. I like that space. No. And in the rain, this is very...
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah, Mangalore is still so green. That's
Mangalore,
something I feel so
Mangalore.
envious about.
It's a small city, no? It's very... It should be green. I don't think we have been used to this place. And with this place, we had earlier one office, and it was old Mangalore house itself, but it didn't had this much place, around it.
So, Raj, tell me a little bit about the kinds of films you grew up watching.
I actually grew up watching most of the commercial Kannada cinemas because that was the only option that we had. And that was the only option we loved also at that time. And I was born in Bhadravati. Bhadravati is actually near Shimoga. So that's a more film consuming society compared to Mangalore. Mangalore is not at all film consuming society. And at that time, Ravichandran sir and Dr. Rajkumar sir was doing his last film, Akasmika. Later he did Shabdavedi, but I was not in that town at that time. Ambarish sir and Sai Kumar and Vishnuvardhan. So these were the stalwarts who used to do films that we used to love to go to theatre and watch. I was very mesmerized by the screen because to go there, sit inside and forget everything that you have and to engage in somebody else's life was such a miracle to me.
What about international influences?
Its first impression that was very strong on me was Martin Scorsese. And as an actor, it was Robert De Niro. And when I watched that kind of style of acting and that kind of film, what is he doing? Why is he not acting was my question. Once I started watching after a few minutes, he was not acting and he was the character in Taxi Driver or Raging Bull or Goodfellas. That is when I understood, oh my God, there is a lot of possibility with cinema.
In your films like Toby or Garuda Gamana, there is a kind of rawness which is very fresh and there is a certain explosive kind of quality to them. So which is why, I in fact specifically wanted to ask you if, Tarantino was...
Yes, Tarantino was he influenced us greatly. The way he uses music, that was always mesmerizing because I really like realistic kind of films. But Quentin Tarantino's films doesn't have that realistic approach. It has a style of its own. But still, he makes us that that world is true and real. That I couldn't understand how he used to do. And the dialogues that he uses are so very loved, so very stylized. But still, it looks natural.
So why cinema, Raj? I mean, of all the, creative avenues that you could have chosen, why select cinema?
I don't think I selected cinema. So I was a RJ and accidentally I became an advertising content writer where I used to write concept for advertisements. And at later stages, I had the chance to go to advertisement shooting. When I went there, because nobody knew how to direct the actors, I guided them. And after that, I was interested in and I started watching content and learning content. In that sense, I started doing more ads and at that time, I started directing. Once I started directing, I could actually feel that, oh, this is the place where without force, my energy and my concentration is at its fullest. You can find, many companions, but when you find somebody, love flows naturally and there is no force. If that happens, that's the biggest joy because you are working and you don't feel that you are working. And then when we did our first short film, after the completion of the short film, we really felt that this is the medium that we need to work. Not because it is rewarding, not because it has money, because we didn't know that at that time. Anything could have happened. But because it was naturally asking us to be more passionate and without forcing, naturally asking us to be more curious. So it served every level interest that we had. So in that reason, I think more than we chose cinema, I think cinema chose us when it was right.
Right.
So that's what I feel.
And that was around the time when you knew that you wanted to become a filmmaker?
Yes.
Okay, because
Only then.
I remember an earlier interview where you said that you always, you enjoyed writing and you always knew you had the writer in you, but it was after Garuda Gamana that you really started enjoying direction.
Yes. I was a writer, and because of circumstances, I had to act, and direction was like, okay, let me do, kind of, because I don't know, let me try and learn. And after Garuda Gamana, I could actually, understand the nuances that we can create, the blocking. There is no end to that concept. There is no end to that subject. Every film you can approach as a student and learn through that film. It is not that master creates craft, or it is that students who is learning, who is willing to learn, creates craft. And through that craft, he becomes master.
And pushing the limits
with every single film. And the joy of direction that I really got was from Garuda Gamana. I could create the pacing, I could create every characters, I could create the blocking, I could create the impact that I want. When it really created that impact, then it satisfied me as a director. The moment you create a character based on the energy of Shiva, the Lord Shiva, then he is actually explosive. So which I didn't play till then, because people thought I couldn't play. Casting me for that role was, I really believe in counter casting. When people expect you to be in a certain way and you can come with whole different level. That gives an experience which is special and new. So that is the reason I had to, I wanted to play that role, because without dialogues you had to convey, you had to look like an animal, and still you had to have the freedom of an animal.
Speaking of the roles that you've played and the roles that you've written, there's this sense that these are people who've been pushed to a corner, either by the way society has treated them, or by a biological condition, or by an illness, as in Swati Muttina. Why write such characters?
Because I am one of them. In the sense, I'm not playing the victim card by telling that, the society has pushed me so that I am nothing like that. We are all pushed, I think. Even when we push somebody, we don't recognize it. Psychologically, we think we are pushed. So that's the reason when you write characters like underprivileged or suppressed underdog character, everybody relates with it, even the richest one. The reason being, psychologically, he is still pushed. I believe in such people. And because I see life the way they see, I write those characters. My strongest character has the weakness. My weakest character has some strength. In Swati Muttina Malehaniya, there is an old man who is strong and weak at the same time.
It's beautifully done.
Yeah, he's how do you call him? Strong or weak? I don't know. But I think we are all like that.
And there's so much strength in his tears when he breaks down.
But he goes, he doesn't beg for attention, he doesn't beg for your empathy, sympathy, nothing. But that breaks your heart. When a man is that strong and that weak together, that breaks your heart. I think in Vandu Muttayakathe, the character is so weak, but he believes he is strong. He's too egoistic. He wants everybody to treat him in a certain way, but he doesn't follow that rule at all. So we are all like that. In my film, barring Swati Muttina Malehaniya, the protagonist is the antagonist. He is the problem. He is the most evil person in the film, because I am one of them. And I am trying to be a better human through my stories and through my life. So I hope my characters also resonate with the people, because they are also like me. We are not special, we are ordinary, and with all the negative flaws.
What happens when you're offered a role in someone else's film which you haven't written, does the writer in you ever want to make changes or have inputs? I mean, does it become difficult to shut out that part of your?
I think when we go to other film sets, I go as a student of cinema where I want to learn from that project. When I go there, everybody has a very different idea about the approach of the character. So I really want to see what they have to offer to that character and what I am thinking and where we can meet. And sometimes I ask questions, not as a writer, just as an actor, where if something doesn't flow naturally to me, I would ask.
In terms of your decision to be a part of a film like Turbo, tell me about that decision.
Imagine this, like a star like Mammotty sir is performing, and you want to go to that set and sit, right? Normally, I come from that place.
So Raj, would you like to be remembered? I mean, have you thought about this? Would you like to be remembered as Raj B Shetty, the writer, the actor, or the director?
I would really love if nobody remembers me. And
why do you say that?
And like there is no sense, like why do you want people to remember you after you have gone? Why should people remember you? I don't.
But don't you want your work to be remembered?
I don't think so.
No?
No. Because I do for the joy of the process. And the process has given immense pleasure. And in that sense, it has changed me as a human being. And if people watch, I'm happy. If people resonate with that, I'm absolutely happy, because I'm a human being who created something. And if it resonates with them, I think I'm glad.
What would you be if you weren't a filmmaker? If you hadn't gotten into films, what do you think you'd be doing today?
I would be doing something where they pay me enough so that I can run my family. That was the only dream I had.
Reading a report where a couple of months back, I think, where you mentioned that Kannada cinema sort of went through this period, like a golden era. And I'm assuming you were referring to the 70s and 80s when people like Putana Kanagal, also there was a parallel cinema movement with like Girish Karnad and B.V. Karanth and all these people working. So, and then in your report you mentioned that this period happened and then there was a decline, mainly because of the lack of good writers, in the sense that good writers weren't being nurtured adequately. So my question is basically a two-part question. One is, what was happening that was different at that time? And also if you could tell me a little more about the influence of these figures, why the 70s and 80s were important and why Kannada cinema was at its peak at that time. And the second part is, why hasn't that nurturing happened since then?
So there was a great literature movements happening. And the writers of that time were well read. The actors of that time had experience, in the sense most of them were theatre actors. And then they had a will where they wanted the Kannada industry to come to Bangalore, because it was actually working in Madras. And at that time, to create cinema was very hard. It was such a hard job, and money meant a lot. And it was also a physically very straining thing. And it was always limited resource. You made sure that you always choose the right people. You had to choose the right people. The experience that they had collectively as theatre writers, and for example, there was a writer called as Hunasuru Krishnamurti, who created Babruahana, Satya Harishchandra, these kind of mythological films. The language he had, the song he had, Kuladalli Kiliyavado Huchappa, Matadalli Meliyavado is a song. And when he wrote that, he writes like a normal person, but the philosophy is so superb. And these kind of writers, like there was G.V. Iyer, and there was Putana Kanagal, Sidlingaya, they were all well read. Once the success comes to an industry, we always take something for granted. That happens. And we created films maybe in the later 90s, which was not welcomed by the audience greatly. Especially when Dr. Rajkumar sir stopped acting. Biggest reason might be lack of writers too. And you ask why there was a lack of writers. maybe because the yesteryear writers didn't get their due credit, name, fame, and money, which could have made them as institutions who could take, pupils and, educate them and send them back to the industry. That didn't happen. And that's not the only thing. Our whole industry became, unfortunately, an industry which is heavily dependent on stars rather than writers.
Speaking of the golden era, wasn't Shankar Nag also very influential with his work in cinema, theatre, television?
Yes. Shankar Nag, when he created, even though we give a lot of credit now, when he released a film like Accident, it didn't work. It pains.
Yeah.
Like, when he did an experiment like Vandu Muttina Kate, it didn't work. That pains. Now it's we consider it as classics. So we didn't give the credit there. So he had to he was telling he had to act in films that he is not willing. I mean, he's not happy, so that he can create art which he likes. Because he knows that, when he creates something he likes, it may not work. But he was pushing his boundaries. And because of that, I think they influenced a lot of people who, remember them as their idols. And then Malgudy days came, and that is when, everybody recognized, oh, there is a young talent. And then he made Geeta, which was commercial, but still it had his sensibilities, which was a super hit. So everybody were responsible. I think they earned a lot and invested in the future of the industry rather than investing in themselves. So that is the reason we talk about their films. But if you see them, they were not economically, financially as successful as other actors.
So Raj, then it's understood that, in the 70s and 80s, there was this sort of golden period, and then there was a decline. And then again, sometime in the early 2000s, there was again this kind of resurgence, right? A kind of rise of, again, good, talented people coming together. So where do you see that starting?
I really see from Lucia, I think. I really see it as that. I consider Lucia was the start of every, kind of movement that's happening right now. Maybe we were all tired, and Pawan Kumar was also very tired. And that's the reason when he tried to create something like Lucia, we wanted to relate with that. We wanted to tell that it is our film. And when that film came and it became successful, we were so happy. I still remember, when that film came, I mean, before the film came itself, we were so actually, even though internet was very less at that time, we were so updated about what the film is. I mean, what is happening with the film and everything. We were waiting for the film because we felt as if, this is one film which can actually change the industry. Fortunately, it did. And then Ulidavaru Kandanthe, I would give the credit to. Ulidavaru Kandanthe was not at all a theatre success. But still, it actually impacted people in a way where they wanted more of that kind of films.
So Raj, I wanted to talk a little bit about your production company, lighterbuddhafilms. Tell me about your reasons for starting it and what kinds of films do you want, or do you see lighterbuddha bringing to the Indian film space? And also, if you could tell me a little bit about, because we were talking about nurturing talent earlier, if that's also something you're thinking about through lighterbuddha, nurturing directors, writers.
Our first film was Garuda Gamana, and then we did Toby. And then we did Swati Muttina Malahaniya with Applebox Studios. We have done 3 different kind of films, not at all. That is one thing that we want to do. We want to do something which is new to us, which we haven't done. So we are trying to create films, slowly and steadily, because we are not a big institution or anything. We are a small film house. We are independent setup, so we create in our own pace. So I definitely want to nurture the talent, but I need to create good content through this film, which will nurture the talent by itself. I'm trying to find artists or writers slowly, but because of how busy I am, I'm not able to rush it and do it from I'll do it from tomorrow is something that is something I don't have freedom to do right now. But down the line, I think we may not create much films because that is not our intention. To create 20, 25, that is not our idea at all. We need to create something that we love. It might be another 2 or another 3 or another 5. I don't have the count at all. And we don't even think in the way that we need to serve Indian cinema or nothing. We just want to do films and if it helps Indian cinema, I'm fine with it. If it doesn't, okay, we'll try to do our best. That's all. But we have our friends who are trying to create a cinema which almost script is done, which is a small kind of comedy. I think that will be our future idea. And after that, we haven't planned anything. So we are trying to see what can be done.
What advice would you give to a young, writer, director, actor starting out today?
I think for a writer, it will be read. Read as much as possible and absorb contents and be open, be curious to life. Without curiosity towards life, I don't think we can create anything which is organic, natural and free-flowing. For an actor also, see, because more than the words, body always speaks. Like how interested a human being is. Even the walk of a human being suggests what he is going through. So in that sense, I think even for an actor, be curious and observe everything that is happening around you. Not to become a great actor, but every great actor has that observation in them. I want happy souls to create the art that would come, because then it might be a gift to the society.
Finally, Raj, what would you want your audience to take away from a Raj B Shetty film?
Nothing. Don't expect anything. Because my film only is a statement of mine in the level of living that I am. That's all. It will change in the future. How do you expect consistency with ever-changing human being? Please don't do that. So watch my films with as new eyes as possible, and whatever you get, that's all you get. That's all.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Raj, for your time and for this deeply insightful conversation.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is procession. So all the umbrella and that thing is kind of a Mangalore, Dakshina Kannada symbols.
So these were already there, Raj?
No, we made it.
Okay.
So this is actually called as torch. He's holding a torch. And this is Daiva.
Yes, I'm now familiar with
that. This is again a torch. See, with the Daiva there are 2 torches. And this is what the horns that they blow. So this is Ratha. Ratha, you know?
Yeah.
Thing that you play.
Yeah.
This is called as Pallaki. Pallaki is, you put ornaments here and they are lifting. The 4 people are lifting. And this is Gommata.
Yes.
You know him? And Asidi came. This is actually cockfight.
Yeah.
They are engaged in it.
They still happen?
Yeah, that still happen. He is actually doing his agricultural this thing. That woman is a fisherwoman.
Very beautiful.